Welcome back. All right, so since there's been a lot of talk around the Rangers and their recent struggles, I figured let's take a look. Let's just take a look at how the Rangers are doing. We can look at their upcoming schedule, where they are in the standings, all that fun stuff. And I also want to point out at the start of this, the team's cap space, according to Puckpedia, $767,459. Now, if you're wondering if they're going to make a coaching change, I would say no. Peter Laviolette's only in his second year, and his combined record between last season and this one, 67 wins, 30 regulation losses, and 5 losses in extra time. So I don't think so, but it is the National Hockey League where coaches get fired. It happens a lot. So the Rangers find themselves in this interesting position. They are still on pace for over 100 points this year, and yet all the headlines right now are about how disappointing they've been and how tough a season they're having. The funny thing is, a week ago they were winning in Vancouver and everything was pretty good. Then they rack up a few losses and suddenly everybody's concerned. So if I was doing a panic index today, for instance, the New York Rangers might be a little more panicked. So the New Jersey Devils lead the Metro Division. 24 games, 15-7-2 record, 32 points, and they're 8-2 in their last 10. New Jersey's playing very, very well. The Carolina Hurricanes, 21 games, 15-5-1 record, 31 points. So they're 3 points back in New Jersey, but they're 1 point back in New Jersey with 3 games in hand. That's the phrase I was looking for. Carolina's 6-3-1 in their last 10. Washington, 21 games, 14-6-1 record, 29 points. They're 6-3-1 in their last 10 as well. Part of what's happened to the New York Rangers is that New Jersey's a heck of a lot better than last year. Washington's a heck of a lot better than expected, so it pushes the Rangers into a wild card spot, and it'll definitely cause some panic. The Rangers, 20 games, 12-7-1 record, 25 points. They're 5-5 in their last 10. So they have 4 games in hand on New Jersey, and they're 7 points back. So, I mean, if they win the games in hand, great. But they only have 1 game in hand on Washington and Carolina. They're 4 points behind Washington, 6 points behind Carolina. I totally understand why management would be looking to make a move and change things up, because this can spiral badly very quickly. Buffalo, 21 games, 11-9-1, 23 points. They're 7-3 in their last 10. And they're the number 2 wild card. So right now, Buffalo's above the line. Just below the line, Boston's lurking. 22 games played, 10-9-3 record, 23 points. 5-3-2 in their last 10, and they just changed coaches. So let's just say Buffalo stays hot. If Boston keeps racking up some victories, yeah, the Rangers could definitely find themselves on the outside looking in, which would be a very frustrating position when your team is potentially on pace for about 100 points. So for the New York Rangers, I don't think they need anything major done. But if they do, they don't really have the cap space, as I've mentioned in videos recently, to probably have to be dollar out, dollar in. So we'll look at the players, and I've just got their numbers in November. The leading scorer in the month of November is Artemi Panarin, 11 games, 6 goals, 5 assists, 11 points. His cap hit is $11.6 million until 2026. So Panarin is not going anywhere, and I can't see any scenario where Panarin's getting traded with that cap hit unless they're retaining, and I just can't see them doing that. Panarin is an excellent forward. Does he struggle at times in the playoffs? Yes. Is that a concern? In the playoffs, yes. But I don't look at Panarin as being any kind of trade option. Will Cooley is making things more difficult as well for the New York Rangers pocketbooks next year, because in the month of November, in 11 games, he's got 6 goals, 3 assists, 9 points. His cap hit's only $826,000 until next summer, where he's a restricted free agent. Cooley can do a little bit of everything, and now he can score. He's going to be very popular as a restricted free agent. And then we've got a goalie down here to talk about as well. So it could be a very pricey summer next summer as well for the New York Rangers. And this is already a team we're looking at and saying, so are they trending in the wrong direction? All that fun stuff. And we're going to see Cooley probably get a pretty hefty raise in the offseason. And we know Shesterkin's getting a huge raise next summer. So this could get worse for them financially. Adam Fox, 10 games, 9 assists during the month of November. And I'm well aware that the Rangers are worth billions and they don't have any actual financial concerns. But from a salary cap perspective, right? So Fox gets a $9.5 million cap hit until 2029. There is absolutely no reason to think Adam Fox is going anywhere, ever. He is a Ranger for as long as he wants to be a Ranger, right? And at $9.5 million for the cap hit, that's honestly a pretty decent cap hit when you look at some of the other defensemen in the league. Fox at $9.5 million, maybe a bargain. Lafreniere, 11 games, 4 goals, 4 assists, 8 points. His cap hit will be $7.45 million next year, and that'll run till 2032. Lafreniere's not going anywhere. So we're already down to Lafreniere. That's top 4 scorers, and I can't see any of them being on the block at all. And then there's Zibanejad, and he's been the target I've seen in comments a lot from Ranger fans. And I don't think he's having as solid a year this year as he's had in previous years. And in the month of November, 11 games, 2 goals, 6 assists, 8 points. The problem is the cap hit, $8.5 million. The other problem is that contract till runs until 2030. So if they look for a taker for Zibanejad, my guess is that a team's going to say, okay, we'll take on the Zibanejad contract, which doesn't look great right now. You're going to take back a contract, which also doesn't necessarily look great. So you're trading out one issue for potentially acquiring another if you make a move with Zibanejad. Kakko, 11 games, 2 goals, 3 assists, 5 points. He has a $2.4 million cap hit till next summer. He's a restricted free agent. I can't see him getting a big raise over the $2.4 million unless the salary cap goes up by a bunch. And then maybe, but even then, I think if it goes up by a lot, that extra money is going to go to your big star players. Kakko has not reached that level as of yet. Riley Smith, 11 games, 1 goal, 4 assists, 5 points. He has a $3.75 million cap hit for this season, and then he's an unrestricted free agent. You might be able to find a taker for Riley Smith, maybe. But that's not like a big move. Riley Smith just arrived in New York this year, so it wouldn't be a huge move if they did move Smith, and you're still going to need to get a forward back in that deal. Zach Jones, 9 games, 1 goal, 4 assists, 5 points. His cap hits $813,000. He's a restricted free agent next summer. It'll be interesting to see what kind of money Zach Jones makes next year. Chris Kreider, 10 games, 3 goals for Kreider, $6.5 million cap hit till 2027. I'm not even getting into the trade protection, because once you get into which ones have no trade, no movement clauses, basically it becomes, well, good night, everybody. Because a lot of players in this league either have that trade protection or the cap hit gives them that trade protection. I would argue with Kreider, that's exactly the case here. Chris Kreider, 3 goals in 10 games. He has not looked like himself this season. And the $6.5 million cap hit will probably scare off other teams who might be interested in Kreider. But again, you might be able to trade Kreider if you're willing to take back $6.5 million in salary cap money, and in order to do that, you're probably going to be taking on a contract you'd rather not. So there's that. And then there's Schneider, 11 games, 3 assists, $2.2 million cap hit until 2026. He'll be a restricted free agent there, and there's no chance they're trading Schneider. So there's another one you say, nope, he's not going anywhere. Trocheck, 11 games, 2 goals this month. Trocheck's been struggling. So while people have talked about Zibanejad and they've talked plenty about Kreider, how about Trocheck? But his cap hits $5.63 million until 2029. So I don't think Trocheck's going anywhere either. I'd be very surprised if a team is willing to put in an offer right now on Trocheck with things going the way they have. VC, 10 games, 2 goals. He has an $800,000 cap hit. Sure, you might be able to trade VC. It's not going to change the makeup of the team, though. Carrick, 11 games, 2 assists. He has a $1 million cap hit till 2027. Rinse and repeat what I said about VC, and you can say that about Carrick. And then there's Trouba. Yes, Trouba, the target that everybody will have. He has 2 assists in 11 games this month. He has an $8 million cap hit until 2026. I cannot see Trouba accepting a trade after everything that happened over the summer. I can't see a team trading for Jacob Trouba right now either. I think he's there until next summer. And so I get this is where things get really difficult if you're Chris Drury and you're trying to make a move. Because who are you moving and what are you trying to get back? Philip Hedl, 6 games, 2 assists, $4.44 million cap hit till 2027. Hedl is injured right now for 1, and for 2, they're not trading Hedl. It's not going to happen. Keandre Miller, 11 games, 2 assists, $3.87 million cap hit. He's a restricted free agent this summer. I could see Keandre Miller being on the block, and I could see teams being interested. I don't know if the almost $4 million cap hit would scare teams off, but he's still young. The potential's still there. He can play physical. He's got some offensive side to him as well. I could see Keandre Miller drawing attention, but if you're the Rangers, do you want to move him? And then what team would he go to? Edstrom, 11 games, 1 goal for him. He has an $847,000 cap hit. He's a restricted free agent this coming summer. You're not going to get a lot for Edstrom. Brodzinski, 5 games, 1 assist for him. $788,000 cap hit until 2026. Same thing. You're not going to get much for Brodzinski. Lindgren, 11 games, 1 assist, $4.5 million cap hit until next summer. He's a UFA this coming summer. And it's interesting because we talk a lot about Shesterkin, but Lindgren's a really important part of that blue line. Could he end up being available as a rental at the deadline? If I had a team that I thought might be able to make some noise in the playoffs, and I was looking for a little bit of toughness on the blue line and a defenseman that I felt like could do his job in his own zone, even though Lindgren's numbers may not be very good right now from a regular or advanced perspective, Lindgren's tough as nails. I would absolutely take a chance with him. I would pick him up. So that's one, too, that I don't think Ranger fans would want to see go. And that's where it gets tough, because when fans are throwing out these names, and this is something I've talked about for decades now, fans will throw out all these names of, oh, we should trade this guy, this guy, this guy. And I always answered with the same thing. This was usually on the Canucks forum, but other forums as well. What are you getting back, and from where? And then they would throw out the name of some young gun from some other team and say, maybe we can throw in a 4th-round draft pick and make this trade work. And I'm like, I don't think the other GM has brain damage, so I'm not sure how that trade's going to happen. And that's the thing. Whatever names are being thrown out there right now are probably names of players that may not be playing well, but other GMs know they're not playing well either. They're not paid to just sit there and look at a name and go, well, that name is going to work on our team. They have to look at how the player's playing right now. Berard made his debut last night. He's not getting traded. 1 assist in last night's game. $868,000 cap hit till 2026. He's an RFA there. Matt Rempe, just the 1 game, $820,000 cap hit. He's a restricted free agent next summer. They're not going to trade him. I don't think he has any trade value either. Mancini, just the 2 games, $870,000 cap hit till 2026. I jinxed him by putting in a video about young players earlier in the season. I apologize. And again, Mancini doesn't have a lot of value right now on the market. Yeah, the Rangers are in tough here because the players that Ranger fans are like, we need to get rid of these guys, have high cap hits, and they're not going away soon, so teams aren't necessarily going to want to pick them up. And then you get to the goaltending. You have 2 goaltenders here who are both UFAs next summer. Jonathan Quick, it's very likely his final season. Shesterkin, is it his final season with the Rangers? Shesterkin's 4-4 this month with a .905 save percentage. He has a $5.67 million cap hit for this season, and then he's an unrestricted free agent next summer. Jonathan Quick, 2-1 record, .937 save percentage, 2 shutouts, $1.28 million cap hit for this season. So the New York Rangers are in this very unenviable position. They're going to have to give Shesterkin a raise at some point, or they're going to have to look at maybe moving him as a rental, or just holding their breath and hoping that they keep him through the deadline when he doesn't have a contract signed, and then try to get him signed in June before he could hit the market in July. And it's difficult. It is difficult to talk somebody out of testing the market when it may be the only time they get to test the market, at the very least in their prime. And so that's what Igor's looking at. There is no pressure on a player to sign a contract. The pressure is always on the team to sign that player to said contract. I always find that interesting when I'm reading articles of, well, there's pressure, to get this signed. Not on the player, there isn't. He's going to make his money. Somebody's going to pay him. It's just a matter of who. The pressure's on the team that currently has the rights to that player, because he doesn't have to sign anything. And if he goes to market, he's probably going to make more money than what's being offered by the team that owns him. So it does get sketchy very quickly. And so I don't have any problem with players deciding to go to market. I have no problem with that at all. I have no problem with a player saying, I don't know if this team's moving in the right direction, I might want out. Because that's their right. They have every right to do that. We do that with jobs. Why do we get mad at players for doing that with teams? We do that with jobs all the time. Well, I don't do that with jobs anymore. But I did get to the point where I'm like, yeah, I'm done with this. I got to go. And I didn't have anybody offering me millions of dollars. I wasn't making millions of dollars. I just changed jobs because I was tired of it. Maybe I wasn't making enough. And so changes would take place. So I have no problem with pro players doing that. But we look at the numbers this month for the New York Rangers. And hey, that ramble was for free. But we look at the numbers for the Rangers. Goals for per game, 2.73. They're 20th in the National Hockey League there. Goals against, 3.09. They're 21st in that category. Their power play is clicking at a 16% rate this month. That's 23rd. Their penalty kill, 88.9%. That's first. So the penalty kill's working really, really well because the goaltending's been pretty darn good. The shots per game are troubling. They're getting 29.7 per game. They're averaging 34.3 allowed. And I'm surprised the number isn't higher, to be honest. When you watch the games between the Rangers and Calgary and then against Edmonton, you realize a bit of a problem. But I looked at that and thought maybe it's this road trip. Maybe there's just something not jiving on this road trip. Maybe they'll get it together when they get home. And they go home last night and they lose 5-2 against a Blues team that needed a win desperately. But the Rangers need one too, right? So for the Rangers, their upcoming schedule is key, and it does not get easier, not right away. So they're in Carolina tomorrow, and I don't know if anybody knows, but Carolina's having a great season. Then they're in Philadelphia on Friday. Philadelphia gives every team they play all they can handle. Now, Philadelphia may not have the guns to win every game, but they're in every game. And so if the Rangers take Philadelphia lightly on any level, the Flyers are capable of getting a win there. Then the Rangers come home. They play against the Montreal Canadiens on Saturday, so those are back-to-backs there. And Montreal has been playing better over the last week or so. Then at home as well, they're against New Jersey on Monday. Well, we know that's going to be a fight. New Jersey and the Rangers is almost always a fight. Then they have some days off, and that's a key thing for a team that's struggling is having those days off. But there's 4 games played before they get a substantial amount of time off to try to do some sort of a reset, right? Then they're at home on Friday, December the 6th, against the Pittsburgh Penguins, a team that has had tremendous struggles, but again, between now and then you have 4 games. If the Rangers go, say, 1-3 in their next 4 games, they may very well find themselves outside of the playoff picture altogether, at the very least out of the top 8, and leaving management in a position they don't want to be in, where they have to make a decision about potentially cutting somebody or just some major move, trying something to get things going. And then they're at home for the next couple as well. There's a back-to-back here on the 8th, on Sunday, Seattle, and then on Monday the 9th, they're at home against Chicago. Seattle is very unpredictable. You never know what you're getting from them from one game to the next. Chicago, they can be tough. And then they're on the road on Wednesday, the 11th of December, against Buffalo, who are right there in the playoff picture. And Sabres fans would love nothing more than to be above the playoff line and keep the Rangers below the playoff line, because Buffalo hasn't made the playoffs since 1964, and that's before they were even in the league. So this is a very important upcoming stretch, and this is a team that's having struggles up and down their lineup. And so that's why I looked at everybody who's played. And like to see 2 goals for Trocheck, 3 goals for Kreider, no assists for either, that's troubling. Seeing 2 goals for Zibanejad, that's troubling. There's just so much here to look at and say these guys should be better. So if there's a good news with this, it's this team should be better than this. There's some guys here who should start to get things clicking, whether it's Trocheck, whether it's Kakko, maybe he goes on a bit of a run. Lafreniere should be able to start putting in some more points. Maybe Panarin starts getting up to the scoring rate he was earlier in the season. And maybe we'll just look back on this time as, a bit of a speed bump along the way. But the longer this struggle goes, the more it's not a speed bump, the more it's a real slump. And with how good this division is, it could be very difficult for the Rangers to get back into a top 3 spot and keep themselves out of a wild card spot. You don't want to be in a wild card spot. You just don't. But hey, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. If you're a Rangers fan, how do you feel about this right now? Is it full panic, or is it okay, we'll be fine if? But let me know your thoughts. I wanted to go through this and do a thorough job of looking at their contract situations and their scoring this month and get into just how dire things look right now, and it could turn around a couple weeks from now. It absolutely could. But let me know your thoughts. Will it turn around or not? Hit like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Thank you guys so much for all your support as always. I will talk to you again soon.